I am Kevin Hayes. I went through the program. I went through the ranch, and then I went through TL. I was at the ranch for 13 months, and I went through TL for the 6 months. And now I'm a staff here. And 3 pieces of advice that I have for new parents to the program is, first one, remembering why you sent your kid here, and then also being open to the opportunity of change with your kid here and being able to see that. I think trust is a thing that's really hard to earn, but the kids here are kind of on a fast track, being in the therapeutic environment. So being able to be open to the change of their kid, but also at the same time not being able to be easily manipulated by their kid, because there are a lot of kids that say, I'm going to get pulled, or I want to get pulled, or this place sucks, or I need to be home for the family and stuff like that, and to not be bought into that. Also, another really good one is being able to hold your parent boundaries, and listening to the therapists around what boundaries are reasonable. I feel like the therapists here line it out very, very well. And then overall is just my final piece of advice is being able to enjoy the process and utilizing it for yourself, because this isn't just sending your kid to treatment just for him, it's for the whole family. So that means listening to the parents, or listening to the therapists when they say go to Al-Anon family groups, or going to family support groups and stuff like that, and being able to reach out to other ranch parents. That's really important. Listening to the staff, because the staff have a lot of experience with this stuff, and they know what kids are trying to pull what strings and all of that stuff. So paying attention to enjoying the process for yourself and utilizing this process to help you become a better parent for the future. Or maybe if you have younger kids, being able to show up as a better parent for them as well, while going through this with your son here at the ranch. And yeah, I mean, enjoying the process. This whole thing is not just a glum show. You can have fun with this too, and enjoy watching your son grow while you grow at the same time, because it's a whole family therapy. That's all it is. All right, thank you.
Hey, my name is Bryce S. I'm a student here at Imbalance Ranch Academy. I got here about February 14th of 2018. I came in had a really rough pattern, really manipulative towards my parents, and just came in with a really rough attitude. But I also I just kind of didn't do anything really sketchy. I just was stagnant in my process, and I started off pretty rough, but now I'm going up for my level 4 on this coming Wednesday. I'm in the Patagonia milieu. We're doing really well right now. Got some good upper levels. And I think one key thing is the parent side of things. And I think as parents, 3 key things that I think you guys should keep in mind is watch out for manipulative behaviors coming from your son, because that's a big thing, because you're why they're here, and that's also a good thing. But we work a strong Al-Anon program. Thankfully, my grandmother worked a really strong Al-Anon program, and she she was able to withstand my manipulation. But it's being a parent. We know that you love your kids and definitely want to see them, and that can be rough in times of manipulation. Another thing is holding strong boundaries whenever you guys come out. That's a really big thing, because if you let him get away with being on your phone or playing music, that could lead to him maybe sneaking off out at night during level 2 overnight, and that just wouldn't be good at all. That could reflect poorly on him, getting him a tier, making him stay here longer, and just overall just negative program. And another big thing is whenever you guys come out for family weekend, just really give it all to the family weekends. Really turn everything over, your will and stuff, just turn that all over to the family weekend, and you can really get a lot from it. It's kind of what you put in is what you're gonna get out. If you come there with the mindset of man, let's just do the bare minimum, then you're gonna get the bare minimum, and you're not gonna get as much as another family would. That if you give it your all and you really open up during family weekends, the first, second, and third one, it can take you places that you wouldn't imagine. It's a really powerful experience. And besides that, I think you guys definitely made the right choice with Imbalance. Whenever I first came here, I didn't think that, but I'm leaving in a couple weeks, and I definitely think this place has shown me a lot of good in life. That was good.
All right, hi, I'm Jack. Here at Imbalance. I'm from New York City, and this is just some things that I just want to talk to you about some things I wish my parents would have told me before or in treatment here. The first thing is just like setting that firm boundary about getting pulled or like leaving the ranch before you graduate this place. Personally, for me, it saved me a lot of time, and I think I've seen like a lot of kids here during my stay that their parents were very loose around the parameters of getting pulled, and I just seen them really struggle around that. Like their minds are focused on like what's a new way for me to get pulled, like what angle can I hit them at that will make me get pulled, like what are some weaknesses they have that like I can get pulled. And I think that just like kind of wastes time. Like personally for me, it saved me 2 months at my beginning of my stay. Like I could have spent the first 2 months just like trying to find those angles, like working like my parents so they would pull me. And my dad set that boundary firm my first family call, and kind of just it snipped that right in the bud. Like I didn't have any like goal of getting pulled. I knew that my parents were gonna see me through, and that kind of made me just aim for the stars. And like now, like I see the promises of this place and recovery that with sobriety that I can achieve anything I want. And that was a big thing for me, at least, because I didn't think that sobriety could give me or recovery could give me like all the things that I wanted. And now that I've seen this, like now that I'm working my own program for myself, I realize that I can do whatever I want. So that's a big thing. So I think like a big thing is just like realize that everyone takes their own path, and that path comes in time, and not to stress about anything. Because overall, I think the team at Imbalance, like the staff, the therapists, everyone, like even the horses, I think they all facilitate the process in its own time, and everything happens on its own time, so that in the end, like your son will become the best that he can be. So yeah, that's all I want to say. Like thank you very much for listening. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carolyn J. I'm an Imbalance alumni parent. Our son, Michael, was at the ranch from fall of 2016 until November of 2017. And when asked what I would tell a parent sitting in the parent orientation, I would say read the parent manual. I read that manual, I knew that manual, and it helped answer a lot of questions along the way. And if I ever questioned anything, I would ask, but I never took it for granted that I knew more than what was in that manual, and I just really trusted that the experts had put those rules in place for a reason. So that's my number one piece of advice for you. And then second, which is really what I wish I had done, is I wish I would have gotten to work on myself sooner. It was our therapist right around First Family Weekend who noticed that I was struggling, and I really had kind of a high expectation of where our son should be, and I was creating some issues around that, and he suggested that I get to work. And I started going to Nar-Anon and reading, and read the books off the suggested reading list, and really started doing my own work. And that was when my process with my son became more of a parallel process rather than pushing him based on my expectations. And when I started doing that, I noticed a change in myself for the better, but also just a change. That was when my relationship began to improve with my son, and really again we started on the parallel process, and he started doing more on his own journey when he realized I was doing my work, and he could no longer manipulate me in the way that he had done for so long. So it really was great because I worked on myself, and that work then ended up rolling into really assisting my son with his own process. So those are really the two things that I would recommend and encourage you to do. And welcome to Imbalance. Thank you.
Ron.
Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Warren and Kathy
Hello.
from
I'm Warren.
coming to you from Akron, Ohio, and we just wanted to greet everybody from New Parent Orientation at Imbalance.
Well, I'll share some things that I've learned and discovered in the 4 years since Jack left our home. It's been a little over 4 years now. He went to treatment first in the wilderness, and then after a number of months went on to Imbalance. And one thing that I learned pretty early on was treatment and recovery is long term. It's not something that happens in a few months and then you go home and you're all better. It's long term.
Okay. I think one of the things that jumps to mind the most when I think about what I wish I would have known, I grieved a lot when Jack left, like a lot. And every once in a while I still grieve that Jack isn't. All of that is outside the realm of what I call normal. And I grieved that a lot. I grieved that we weren't living normal. We weren't living pizza parties and homecomings and proms and girlfriends and all those things that we were missing. And one of the things that I wish I would have known is that it's okay to be out of normal. And in fact, it's there's a lot of miracles and there's a lot of fabulous things outside of normal.
Like to, because we miss him terribly, but we put recovery first. And we've had to say that to ourselves many times when it came to decisions, what's first? And recovery's first.
And I'll just piggyback off of what Warren just said. Absolutely, recovery comes first. And it took us not that long to really get that into our heads because Patrick, along with the rest of the staff, drilled it into us. But even to this day, recovery comes first. And recovery, at the time that Jack was at Imbalance, recovery came before school. Even though normal, as I mentioned before, normal focuses on grades and how's he doing in school and what's he going to do when he gets out of school, that completely flies in the face of recovery comes first. And that's one of the things that became very apparent early on for us. And like I said, to this day, and as Warren said, to this day, everything we look at in terms of Jack, recovery comes from.
Since the day we had him gooned, we've been learning the process of what it's like to become a real, true family. And I got to tell you, we wouldn't trade it for anything. No. We would do it all over again. And if we had to, we would sell our house in order to save that young man's life, because the life he has today, the direction that he's going, and it's just amazing. So.
My name's Tony, and this is my wife Allison, and we're here to share a bit of our journey that began in the fall of 2015 when we sent our son Eli to the woods. And that was the beginning of a journey that we wouldn't have chosen for ourselves. We wouldn't have necessarily wished on anyone, but we look back on where we've been and where we've come as a family and as individuals and where our son has come. And it's not a story we would trade for anything.
The gifts of recovery, the gifts of sobriety, the gifts of family growth are just insurmountable. And I wish I had understood that going into it, how life-changing this experience would be for not just our child, but for our whole family. And
not to be Pollyanna about it, because it's not a linear journey that just gets, turns from one bed of roses to another. The ups are up and feel really good, and the down times are down and difficult. And one of the things that, I wish I might have understood a little more clearly is that idea that this too shall pass. If I'm calm and present and I breathe and I practice some of the skills that I learned at the ranch, some of the skills I've learned in my own recovery, we come out the other side. And there have been difficult times along the way that I couldn't necessarily project. And if I'd thought a lot about, I would have been fearful of and thought, I just need out of this. But so glad that I stayed present with my son through those difficult times and with, myself, because it does get better. In our experience, it got better because we practiced the tools that we learned at the ranch individually and as a family.
I think we learned how to set boundaries with our son. we got tested on boundaries. There was a time where he was unhappy and he was threatening to walk from the ranch. And we were really clear that we love you and support you unconditionally, emotionally, but financially all we can give you at this point is this program, and our expectation is that you finish this program. And we were able, I think, to say that in a loving, kind, wholehearted way, that without having had these experiences, those boundaries were a really hard thing for us.
And to set boundaries without shame.
No shame.
And to not shame ourselves or our son, especially our son. I mean, that's, I think, the point on because there's no shame in this journey. And yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing, for myself personally, is we talk about gathering these new tools. And I wish for myself that I could have focused a little bit more on putting more tools on my own tool belt, because I spent some time, when Eli was there at the ranch and doing his journey, which he needs to do on his own. But I felt a lot of time trying to anticipate what that journey might look like moving forward, and not just trusting the process.
And there were times when I was overthinking it and in fear and trying to control, and the more I backed up and trusted the process, and communicated to Eli that I loved him unconditionally.
It all comes back to what Betsy told us when we first visited the ranch, when Eli was still in the woods. And that was that our child, our son, would be as successful as we were. Which I think at the time I nodded and was like, okay, but didn't fully understand the layers to that we embrace on a regular basis today, and get that full beauty of that full family package of being able to communicate with our child differently and lovingly, and have these robust interactions and conversations, partly because we took care of ourselves. We got healthy while he got healthy, and created our own tool belts.
And if I think just about the joy that I have for my son and pride in him and in our family, having gone through the fire and worked through and learned all the things we've learned, we are in such a better place than I could have ever imagined us being individually and collectively had we been on the traditional journey of high school and all the stuff that traditional high school journey looks like. I wouldn't want that for my son. What my son and what we experience as a family as a result of this is overwhelming.
That's it. Stay in there. Stay strong.